$975,000. There's a coincidence in this number. That's the top of the market in San Bernardino, the highest priced home you could buy. And it's also the bottom of the market in OC, the entry level, the starter. Same number, two completely different markets. And in July, the market started moving in different directions. Everybody wants an answer about this market. Is it up? Is it down? For July, the honest answer is both. What happened last month? It isn't a market moving, it's a market splitting. The expensive homes are actually getting harder to buy, and the affordable ones are getting easier. And nobody's talking about it that way because if you only look at the median home price, you don't see it at all. It's time for the Southern California Housing Market Report. And we can't help ourselves. We redesigned the data yet again to make it easier to read while we go through this. And we also have for email newsletter subscribers, they can go ahead and grab these charts and play with the data. Starting in Orange County single family, what are we looking at? We're looking at July's going all the way back to 2018. 9 years of context. And what's included in that 9 years of context? Well, we have years pre-COVID, more normal years. Then we have COVID years where things got crazy, got overheated. Then mortgage interest rates increased, and then the market has tanked. So we have, since about 2022, things have been very flat, and it is yet again reflected in the data. We have the number of properties that have sold, number of properties in escrow, that's buyer demand, number of new listings, that's seller supply. And up at the top, we can see year over year how we are faring in these various categories, as well as you can see in the line graphs as well. And what do you notice in the line graphs? The big thing that's down, new listings. Seller confidence remains low, back to where it was in 2024 levels. Oh, let's bring in a 30-year mortgage rate. Boom. There you go. So you can see that while mortgage interest rates are down around 6.5, that's the average that we had in July. The tough thing is they should have been lower, and they started out the year much lower. Then bombs fell and things changed. We talked about that repeatedly, and still waiting for that to resolve to see what it's going to do to mortgage interest rates, because the high rates, that is actually what is leading to sellers saying, you know what, I'm not going to sell right now. And buyer demand. So buyers writing contracts as compared to last year in Orange County for single family homes, down about 8%. We're up slightly for number of properties sold, but that's nominal. And we can compare this to years past. For number of properties going under contract, our record was 2020. How does it compare to 2020? We're down almost 50% as compared to July of 2020. Now, that was a artificially high year because mortgage interest rates were low. Things got crazy. But let's see what we have in other spots. LA, seller confidence is not there. Down for seller confidence, down for the number of properties under contract, but not as far down as we saw in Orange County. So it's only down about 0.7%. What do we see in Riverside? Riverside down across the board. New listings, that is the general trend, down. Number of properties going under contract, down slightly, and number of properties sold, down slightly. And then San Bernardino, all red numbers, down. New listings down about 8%. Noticing that trend? Ventura, you're always doing your own thing. You're up slightly year over year for number of properties sold. There you go. They're up a little bit, but they are down over 13% for number of properties going under contract. So that's not good news if you're selling a property in Ventura County right now. And we're going to get into median home prices and what's going on there. Interesting trends as well, and interesting charts as well. San Diego, we're up for number of properties sold, up very slightly for number going under contract, and new listings down 10%. That is the general trend in single family. Sellers are scared to list. Buyers in some spots are writing offers like last year. Last year not being gangbusters, but they're writing them. In other spots they're not. So again, for example, in Orange County, down there. Let's see what's going on with multifamily numbers. One of the only places you're going to get any multifamily data for comparison. This is great for you investors out there. Now, mortgage interest rates are a different animal. For investors, they're related to cash flow. Higher mortgage interest rate is, the lower the cash flow is because it's going to debt service, and potentially the higher the down payment needed to get to cash flow for loans that have to cover debt service, the 5+ commercial financing. What are we seeing in OC for The multifamily properties, well, we're down in number sold properties, down 24%. That's a big drop year over year. Number of closings and number of properties under contract, 16%. So that's down. That's interesting to see. Orange County, we're seeing more inventory come to the market. So we have an increase year over year of 8%, and not quite at the peak, but close to the peak when you look at the number of properties that are currently for sale in Orange County. Moving into LA. LA has strict rent control for many buildings. The RSO, they have another JCO, the Just Cause Ordinance applies to everything else that's a rental property in LA. Not as easy to get things to pencil, particularly with rent control and rents not being able to increase. So what are we seeing? New listings down. Escrows up a little bit. Fascinating to see. Number of sold properties up as well. So people still buying despite the challenges in LA. Riverside, a market that I would think would be hotter than it is. It tends to be a higher cap rate market, but down almost 40% for the number of properties sold. Big drop, but more confidence in the buyers there, up 20%. New listings actually up slightly as well. San Bernardino, down slightly in all numbers except new listings. You're up about 26%. Ventura, you don't even have enough properties to pull any data. Number sold, you're up 33% number sold properties, but that's because you went from 3 to 4. Good job on that. San Diego, down for number of properties sold, and new escrows up 30%. That's a big increase and pretty close to more normal years pre-COVID for number of properties selling, and new listings down, not anywhere near that record high we had in 2021. So there you go. There's the data, and you can, again, as a subscriber, you can go ahead and play around with these numbers and see that we're down 23% from our record that we had, number of new listings in San Diego at that point in time in 2021. Median home price madness, madness, madness. Starting with single family, we're going to compare all the counties. In this data, we're pulling single family from condos and townhomes because there's very different things that are happening with those numbers when we do that. So let's see what we see in the trend. The median will typically peak in about the middle of the summer. So this could be the point in time where we start to see values go the other way. In some cases, we're going to see values go up. Here's a prime example. Orange County is down month over month. But what do we see in San Diego? Well, we see that it is up month over month. It continues to go up in value. All right, so let's get perspective. We're going to compare month over month. As we said, there's some that are down, like Orange County and LA, and some that are up, like Riverside, San Bernardino. Those are up. Year over year, how does it compare? Well, everywhere is up year over year, except for Ventura, which is down 3.5%. And more context and perspective, important to see here, how does the current median home price compare to the previous peak? As you saw in the charts, it tends to go up this way, but we've had some previous peaks. So Orange County, we're off the previous May 2026 peak there. We're down slightly, but we have an all-time high in Riverside. So the previous one was July 2024, and we've gone past that. And same thing in San Diego. We had an increase that led to an all-time high. Look at Ventura. So it was up month over month. We got green, down year over year, but we are well off the peak that was there in May of 2026. That is all part of context and perspective, understanding where the numbers fall as compared to previous years, and not just year over year, month over month, more context. Last but not least, condos and townhomes, very different trend we're seeing. We're seeing more negative numbers. We have some drops. San Bernardino, month over month. So San Bernardino down 7.2%. For the month over month, down 7.6% year over year. So if someone bought a condo a year ago, they've lost 7.6% in value if it was around the median home price for that condo. And the peak versus now, what do we see? We see all negative numbers. All the median home prices are below peaks previously in the market. Now, what's interesting, Riverside here, we see green, we see positive month over month and very positive year over year, but that's still about 5% off the peak. So definitely have to keep tracking to see what happens with those numbers, and good that we've pulled them apart from the single family numbers so that you can see how those trends follow different lines. Psst. Yeah, you. If you're digging our data, make sure you reach out before you make any moves in Southern California. Altos Research, you love them, I love them, we all love them. And we're going to be talking about Market Action Index. What is that? It is a proprietary number Altos has put together. It's a ratio between the number of properties that are being purchased. It's the absorption rate. So if inventory is starting to stick because people aren't buying properties, that means the number goes lower, becomes more of a buyer's market. If properties are flying off the shelves like we've had in the past, it becomes more of a seller's market. There's more competition, buyers competing, values go up. Right now in the state of California, in general, we have a slight seller's advantage. 30 or lower is considered a buyer's market. So we're going to look closer now at the Market Action Index for the specific counties, and we're going to compare different price points. So what we have here, this is Orange County. We have the top of the market and the bottom of the market, and I'll explain what that means. Well, what Altos Research does, they take all the median home prices for the homes and they divide them into 4 quartiles, and then they pick the middle number in each one of those quartiles. So right now the median home price is 5.2 for Orange County, and that's the upper quartile. And then the bottom quartile, the median is 975. So big numbers. This is for single family homes. So what this means is as the market goes up, there's always going to be a top quartile, makes it easier to compare data over time. When we look at the red line, which is the bottom of the market, that bottom quartile, we can see at the top where it's 100. 100 is 100% of a seller's market. We can see we hit it there and we hit it again there. Now, the top of the market generally moves much slower, generally much more inventory than the bottom of the market. There's more buyers that can afford the bottom of the market. Now we look here at the top of the market, zooming in closer, and we can see that there's an increase. It's becoming more of a seller's market. It's been more of a seller's market than it was in the past 2 years, about the same as 2023. So that means there's more competition, either fewer listings at this price point and the same number of buyers, or there's more buyers and more sellers at the same time. Either way, we've seen it turn and go the other way. So there's more demand at the top of the market. How about the bottom of the market? Well, we're seeing the number go down, which means it's becoming more of a buyer's market, which means there's fewer buyers out there writing offers or some competition. So we're seeing a slowdown in the bottom of the market, while we're seeing an increase in the top of the market. And when I say slowdown, I mean a slowdown in the number of buyers writing offers. And when I say increase, I mean more buyers writing offers at the top. Now, the numbers aren't one for one. Still, way more properties selling at the bottom quartile than at the top. In fact, they have a chart down below that says that 126 properties at the bottom were absorbed, whereas there were 59 at the top. So that's Orange County. Let's see the trend in the other counties. And there's one county that'll blow your mind coming up. LA, we can see it's been flat at the top of the market, a lot of properties. And we can see the bottom of the market is about the same where it was year over year, but it is becoming more of a buyer's market than it was in 2024. Fewer people out there writing offers, maybe buyers getting fatigue over interest rates and prices and where it's putting their payments. Riverside, we see there's not a huge gap between the top and the bottom of the market, and their bottom quartile median is 439 and the top is 1.3. Not as big of a spread as we saw in OC and LA. And we are seeing that there's a drop in the bottom of the market. Buyer fatigue. Top of the market, about the same as years past. San Bernardino, look at how closely these two are aligned at the top and the bottom of the market. But this is actually becoming more of a seller's market at the top than we had last year, and about the same for buyers and sellers at the bottom of the market. And days on market for the bottom of the market are actually the longest in San Bernardino, about 77 days on market. The top is at 63 days on market. Another interesting fact, the top median quartile price is $975 for San Bernardino. That's the same number for the bottom quartile in Orange County. Ventura, again, a spot that had that 100% seller's market, up slightly year over year, but decreased for the bottom of the market. And then the top of the market has been pretty steady. Zoom in and see. We can see it's more of a seller's market at the top than it was last year, but not like years past. Ventura, you're always doing your own thing anyway. San Diego, another market that had that 100% seller's market a few times. For the bottom of the market, about the same as last year. Top, actually more of a seller's market than we've had for a few years, like we saw in Orange County. So interesting to see in some counties that the top of the market's moving crazy. Now, put your seatbelt on. This, my friends, is lovely San Francisco. And what's going on in San Francisco? A lot of people cashing in their AI money. What do you see here that we didn't see in the other counties? We could see that it's actually the top of the market is moving faster, moving to the point where it's almost 100% seller's market at the top. And that's with a median for that top quartile of 3 million. And the bottom is kind of flat, and that's 795. And then just to give you perspective, at the third quartile, which that's around 1.6 for the median, at 7 days on market there. So that quartile is on fire. In fact, let's see. Yeah, that's the highest one, green. Crazy, crazy days there. 975,000. What would that get in your neck of the woods? Subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter and you can play with the charts and data. And I want to know what you're up to in this market. Are you sitting on the sidelines, waiting for prices to go down, waiting for prices to go up? Mortgage interest rates, buyer, seller? Let me know in the comments below.